All right, welcome to Hook, Line and Sinker, and welcome to the beginning of one of the most epic adventures we've ever undertaken.
Andrew, we stand here upon the terrifyingly but aptly named Cape Grim, the top left-hand corner of Tasmania. Down that way, the wild, the rugged, the unexplored west coast.
Danger.
This way, the slightly more known and friendly north coast.
Nick, we're going to circumnavigate Tasmania. It seems like an excellent idea at the moment. It's a trip of 750 odd nautical miles, which is a long way.
We better get going then. Andrew, as Bass said to Flinders, I believe, on board the Norfolk, Bass, that looks like an enormous nut.
Let's call it the nut then.
And they did.
Yeah.
And then they continued on, which is pretty much what we've got to do.
Yes.
See, that's why you would circumnavigate Tasmania, just for that simple sight alone. That's a quality Australian salmon, that.
Under bright blue skies, the miles melted away, the mighty bar crusher averaging better than 30 knots and loving it.
All right, well, that is the Lowhead Lighthouse, which essentially signifies the end, Andrew, of our first leg. Care to take the helm, old chap?
Yep.
Okay, cast off. Once again, we headed to sea. The north coast and Bass Strait had been kind, but we ached for the wide blue yonder of the open ocean. We set course for one of Tassie's most iconic strips of sand, Wineglass Bay. To say it was a pleasant trip would be an understatement.
And we have made it. This is the world-renowned Wineglass Bay, Nick.
Andrew, 176 kilometres covered for the day, less than 100 litres of juice, which is great. Like Moses standing before the Red Sea, the canal bridge parted and we made our way through. All right, so the bright lights in the big city of Hobart Town, and by my reckoning, Andrew, that is about 800 kilometres under our belt, a little bit over halfway. What remains to do is Tasmania's west coast, which, in case you hadn't heard, is particularly dangerous, rugged and unpleasant. Untamed, uninhabited and unforgiving, an 800-kilometre run through the Southern Ocean to the safety of Hobart.
With typical ease, we sent the bar crusher down the ramp to begin our most daunting adventure ever.
Out there is the Southern Ocean, and as far as bodies of water go, there are none that strike fear into the heart of mariners more than the Southern Ocean. Andrew, we have got 400 kilometres of the Southern Ocean. So, with a wave rider buoy registering a swell of 5 to 6 metres, we poked our noses out of Hell's Gates. It was a bit lumpy, but nothing the crusher couldn't handle. We headed south to Point Hibbs, one of the West Coast's famous fishing spots. Green country here.
Look at that.
So, with our rings set and 20 minutes to kill, we decided to find a suitable spot to go ashore for a quick comfort stop.
Now, because it is the role of the explorer to name some of the features they find. Oh, this beach behind us may forever be known as Ablutions Cove. Now, we don't want to go up, hard up here. We better get her off.
Faced with a massive catastrophe, I ran to the beach to save my mic.
While I battled to save the ship.
Whitewater and profanity flew in equal measure. But finally, sopping wet, we hauled the crusher to the safety of deeper water. Bass and Flinders would have been proud.
To celebrate, we went ashore and attended to unfinished business.
I've got a decent pull on him, I've got a good pull on him, and I've got absolutely nothing
At all.
Nothing at all.
With time against us and more than 140 kilometres still to travel for the day, we left Point Hibbs, crayless, broken.
On and on into a heavy swell and freshening breeze, the F200 Yamaha powered us south. Cruising speed was down to 15 knots, but the crusher kept us safe and dry. In his journal, Matthew Flinders described this coastline as amongst the most stupendous works of nature he ever beheld, with raging seas dashing great lumps of rock that greeted the eye with astonishment and horror.
That was 200 k's into a 3 metre swell with sort of 10 to 15 knots on the nose.
Yeah.
Crusher's done it well, but we have arrived.
Port Davey.
It is one of the sort of most wondrous natural harbours anywhere in the world.
This is an unbelievable place, something like 150 square kilometres, which includes the spectacular Port Davey, but also the equally cool and bizarre Bathurst Harbour, which is 10 k's up a narrow pass.
To get here on foot will take you the best part of a week. It is one of the most remote and surreal places you will ever see. We chose a little cove in Bathurst Harbour, tossed out the pick and settled in for the night.
All right, so daybreak, Port Davey / Bathurst Harbour, Andrew, and we've spent the night comfortably enough until we've struck a little bit of an issue.
Nick, the tide's gone out. This is the anchor of the bar crusher, which holds it very well,
Very
it has
well.
to be said. It's a nice big anchor, lots of chain. That's important because when anchoring, you don't want to drag your anchor.
Yeah, got any other anchoring tips?
Well, anchor in plenty of water would be an anchoring tip, and know what the tide is doing. We thought it was low when we came in here last night.
No.
As it turns out, no, that was high tide.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
That is Southwest Cape.
Nick, it is. We're going to turn left here and do the south coast. The west coast is behind us.
The sea was flat and our fuel supply was holding up well. Dolphins and birds were everywhere, and once the lures hit the water, it didn't take long.
Oh, fish on, Arnie. Oh, it's a big fish.
Oh, Nick!
Fish on!
There seems to be a lot of fish here, Nick.
And another fish on, Arnie. And they're not little fish. Oh, they're not little fish.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's a nice fish.
He's a big fat fish, isn't he?
Right.
All that remained was the lazy 140-kilometre sprint back to Hobart. The sky was blue and the sea was flat. We ate it like cake.
Well, we are back in Hobart where it sort of all ended last time and started last time, and we've done 500 to this point, 571.1 kilometres.
No doubt the mighty Bar Crusher 670 HT is a champion boat. It took everything, Hardy, that we threw out of it, from, you know, steaming along at 30 knots to punching big seas at 14 or 15. Happy doing it all.